CDC, the Center for Child Development, across the street, with whom we have something of a relationship, on Friday with Annie Cameron. And I have to tell you, it was like me being a kid in a candy store, because the various art projects that they have there are incredible. They have animals, and as you all know, I'm an animal lover. They have an albino snake, which unfortunately I couldn't handle because it was buried under many layers of sawdust, sleeping, a parakeet, and visually, it was a treat. One of the things that they had, which is probably, I don't know, not that unusual, but it was new to me, in the two different classroom areas, they had a place where kids could go if they knew that they needed to be quiet. So it was like a little pallet with pillows, and it was not timeout space. It was self-determined. You know, if a child realized, I need some alone time, they had this little space where they can go. And I said to the director, boy, I think most offices need something like that, don't they? But the thing that intrigued me the most was on the wall, they had kind of a chart, I guess, and it had a green circle, a blue circle, a yellow circle, and a red circle. Quinte knows what I'm talking about. And the green circle is, for, when you're in a good, really good place. The blue is, maybe you're feeling a little off. The yellow is, I'm beginning to really struggle. And the red zone is, boy, I'm mad. And they're taught what those things mean. And to be able to sort of say, I'm in the green zone right now, or I'm in the yellow zone, or I'm, wherever, is an incredible kind of skill, I think, to teach young people, and it's something they'll carry with them their whole lives. But being the sort of idiosyncratic thinker that I am, I carried that chart with me the whole day, and I started thinking about the disciples of Jesus. And I was thinking, Jesus was happiest when, the disciples were in the green zone with him. When was that? Well, it was sort of like when they were walking down the street and they were, just chatting and having a good time. They would get more into the blue zone, when they were talking, and Jesus maybe said, okay, I'm going to send you out 2 by 2. And I expect you to do the miracles, yourselves. And probably then feeling a little like, am I going to be able to do this or not? So kind of getting a little bit uncomfortable. And then the yellow would have been like last week, we heard the transfiguration. Jesus up on the mountain, Moses and Elijah, and the disciples are like, wow. And then they're like, whoa, wow. Look what's happening, and then wait a minute, what's going on here? What's Jesus doing? And who is he? And then the red zone is the many, many times when Jesus says, the life of, a faithful person is about giving yourself away, and I'm about to go and to die, but to rise again in 3 days. And over and over, as Jesus, remember, coming out of the desert, he sets his head towards Jerusalem. And so everything he's doing, he's marching that path. And so as he gets closer, he talks more and more about this hard stuff that he's about to do. And they're like, do y'all remember doing this as kids? La, 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 la. I don't want to hear that. Or, I hear it, but boy, do I not get it. What does this mean? Because Messiah, historically, was king, you know, and sometimes it meant victory, bloody victory. And Jesus is saying, it's not about that. It's about giving your life away. And so they don't understand it. And so my sense is with each step, as they get closer to Jerusalem, he's in the red zone with a bunch of people who are his most faithful followers who do not understand what he's talking about. And you know, just recently, Peter says, no, 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 and Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. He doesn't want to hear that. As he gets closer, my take is that he needs them to support him in this hard thing he is about to do, and they're not doing it. That is why this story, our gospel story today, is so very powerful, because Jesus goes to visit Lazarus, who, you know, I don't know how many days before he has raised from the dead, and Mary and Martha. And they're 2 miles outside of Jerusalem. He's there, and he's about to walk to the cross. And so he's with people that he really loves, and he knows they love him. But do they understand him? Well, guess what? Mary pulls out a jar of nard, and if it's what we think it is, it's from a plant, believe it or not, that's grown in the Himalayan mountains and was very, 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 very expensive. One person likened it to, if you were living on a minimum wage salary, it would be like spending $18,000 on this thing. And so she goes and she gets this jar and she kneels in front of Jesus. She undoes her hair, which is scandalous. I mean, women then never wore their hair down. And if they did, then they were seen as women of ill repute. And then this single woman touches this man's feet. Again, scandalous, scandalous, scandalous. She kneels before him. She washes his feet in this very expensive perfume. And then she dries his feet with her hair. You know what that says to me? She knew who Jesus was. In my mind, she is the one true disciple. She got it. And that's exactly what he needed in that moment, as he prepared to leave that house and walk the very scary, dusty, lonely road to the cross. And he was alone, my friends, because remember, most of his disciples are in the red zone. They don't get it. But Mary got it. When I was in San Francisco, I was asked, one of my parishioners was in the Girl Scouts, and another one, an adult who actually had a troop, and then another woman who was in the organization. And so I was asked to speak at the religious ceremony, medal conferring, and what I was told, now San Francisco is probably the most secular city in the United States. I mean, the percentage of Christians is, you know, I had to explain to people that my collar was not a Nehru shirt. So, not the context, you know. And so this Christian minister is asked to speak, knowing, one, that you're going to have people from a lot of different religious backgrounds, which that didn't bother me, but you were going to have a lot more who had no context whatsoever. And I had people of all ages. So, I was speaking to these young women who were probably 10, 11, 12, who were receiving the medal. And then all these adults too. And I was like, I want to tell you, I was freaked out. You know, I'd rather speak to a room full of 500 people than this group. And I mean, I struggled. And finally, where I landed was, I'm going to talk with them about why I became an Episcopalian, because I was raised in the Methodist Church. And I'm going to do show and tell. So I brought my thurible, which is, you know, holds incense. And I brought a stole, and I brought bread, the communion bread, because we had, like we do here, you know, a big piece of bread. I brought wine. I brought some other stuff too. I think I brought a chasuble. And I just talked about the reason, kind of the biggest reason that I was drawn to the Episcopal Church was the aesthetics of it. It's like, you know, either stained glass windows, or I'm looking at gorgeous trees right now through the clear glass. My visual sense was engaged by the Episcopal Church. I love incense. I won't thrust that upon you all, but the smells, even the smells of flowers in the church, the smell of someone's shampoo next to you. You know, you come in and your sense of smell is engaged, and touch. The fact that we come forward to receive communion. You know, we're kneeling, we're standing, we're sitting. Hopefully that means we're not worshiping from the neck up. You know, our whole bodies are engaged. And that's another thing that I love about this story, because what Mary reminds us of, besides the fact that she, in my mind, was the one true disciple, is that our senses matter. This story is all about touch and smell. You know, we hear the smell of the fragrance of this perfume infiltrated the whole house. And so Mary invites us to remember that when we worship with our whole bodies. When we follow God, we follow with our whole bodies, all of the senses. And finally, another, you know, additional thing I love about this story is Mary reminds us of the deep, deep, deep power of relationship. She loved Jesus, and he knew that. And that friendship, that relationship carried him. And so for us, we are called in the name of God to deep relationship with one another. And what a gift that is. Amen.